Sticking with us, we had a little bit of technical issue that we were dealing with on the camera, and we have done so we're back. When last we left, Sabine had just been sent by the Archpriest of Baal to make contact with the supplicant who had just come to the Grand Ziggurat and who had been out there for several days, and that was Anupam, who found himself napping and resting and taking hospitality in the gardens of the ziggurat, and a rather bent over and stooped older priest of Baal in a black robe comes up to him and says, "Good news, my friend.
Yes.
The amanuensis to the archpriest will see you. Come, I will take you to her."
Thank you so much.
And you go indoors where it's more pleasant than being outside after a few days. And you are introduced to a very tall, striking woman of the court who seems possibly out of place, although she's dressed more modestly for the location you find yourself in, but you get the sense that she pretties up nicely. And you meet Anupam. And how are you dressed again, Anupam? You have a green and yellow robes, right?
Yes, exactly. It's basically just it kind of almost looks like it's basically like a sleeveless robe is what it is. It's just basically like just comes down across here like a karate gi almost. It's actually got an attached hood as well.
And on his back, he has slung over his back a large scroll case, a large leather scroll case that's attached to his back,
as well as my bow staff.
Correct.
It's like, well, I know I was supposed to be meeting with the Archbishop.
The Archpriest.
Archpriest, sorry.
My lord, the Archpriest Harvin of Baal has sent me to speak with you. You can address your concerns to me.
See, I want to say that I really can't. This is information that really only he has. I've come with a very specific mission in mind, and I even brought a gift for him. This large thing slung over my shoulder is for him. Alright, and I'll take the thing off and just let him know that Anupam Dewar is here to speak with him on a very important matter concerning the scale of fate. And I'll hand it over.
I go back to my Archpriest.
Okay. And he receives you, and
My lord, Anupam Dewar has come about the scale of fate. He brings you this.
well, set it down. Don't expect me to handle it.
He says that he must speak with you, and only you. He is on a mission.
And he says he is from where?
I can't recall. Somewhere not here.
Bring him to me.
Then
Yes.
the Archpriest will see you now.
Excellent.
Follow me.
And you were brought into this, into a pleasant, sort of intimate inner courtyard, where a very large, completely bald, shaven man is there, and he's wearing voluminous black robes that are decorated with silver gilt, and you see that your scroll case sits before him on the floor where it's been set down, and there is a princely house, a cadet branch of the royal Bahindra dynasty that has ruled Ajna, and their name was Dawar. Do you bear any relation to that family and that house?
I bear a direct relation to that house.
And then I see by your robes that you are here on the business of the scale of fate, could it be? He looks at you when he says that.
That's what I was told.
But failed to remember.
Did I, my lord?
It matters not. How is my old friend, the abbot?
I'm afraid he has moved on from this life. I'm sad to tell you.
His years were advanced, so that does not surprise me, and yet perhaps there was something other than advanced years that took him from us.
Your instincts are correct.
Do tell me then.
We befell treachery. The Rakshasa kings, they had finally gotten what they had been wanting. The fall of Gurdwara.
That is tragic news for your house and tragic news for an ancient and honored group of men. What is this that you bring me?
Well, before the fall, my master had foreseen this event happening, and he sent me here with this for you. He said this is something that you have been coveting for quite a while, something that he jokingly keeps saying that he knew nothing of.
And so he goes and he opens up the scroll case, and he pulls out these this very long pair of scrolls that he doesn't open them up entirely, but he reads them, and you can see that they're very decorated. There's a lot of calligraphy, and they're written in an ancient script that you don't necessarily recognize. And you see him chuckle a little bit at him, in spite of himself, as he reads some of the poetry. And then looks at you with more seriousness on his face and asks, "What can I do for you, young Dwar?"
I need information. I need a plan of action on how to go about having some semblance of justice for the scales.
Well, you will not find an army here that is prepared to storm the Rakshasa kings at the moment, but I can offer you, at the moment at least, some sanctuary and perhaps a place for you to gather your mind. But that does not mean that I will not require your own services.
I anticipated as much. What can I do for you?
At the moment, nothing. I have other business to attend to, but you may attend me along with Sabine.
I will be at your beck and call.
Where is our merry party, having left the Caravansary?
Before I leave, I'm going to grab a bottle of the finest wine that I have available in store. And I know that he likes reds, so I'll make it a red.
Grabs a nice Merlot.
Alexis, were you keeping? You were.
I'm staying with Arslan.
Okay.
Here.
I follow behind, just far enough away that I can slink away if need be, but far enough that I can join a conversation if there's. They know that I'm there. I'm not hiding from them, but I am the duly appointed guide by my current employer. So I must
Quickly now, the clams are already on their way, so we should be moving pretty quickly also. Let me close up shop. Can you hold this for a moment? Lock up. We should move pretty quickly. The night's going to be on us very quick, and I know that once he gets his gift, if we're not nearby soon, we won't have a moment to speak with him.
Fair enough.
So let's continue. And I'll start heading that way and making sure they stay close. Like we're going to go past some places that I would rather them not step aside to. Let me warn you, though, there are places along here you have to stay close. There are some places where only those who seek death or sell it enter.
I will ensure that I have both my scimitar and shield on me, though not readily observable to those who might otherwise be doing so.
I'm wearing like a white fox pelt, and I just use its like head and pull it up as like a hood.
Okay.
I'm just like kind of ducked down.
Can the two of you bookend her to make sure she's kept central?
But of
Yes.
course, as
I do
Feel-
know how to defend myself. Y'all realize this, correct?
I was tasked with getting you there safely.
I was asked by a favor to ensure that the lady make it to her destination.
Of course you did.
I am more aware than most.
Jeffrey, make
You're
a
skilled in
perception
those
roll.
arms.
I am.
It's quite a trek across the city to the Temple of Baal.
Rolling perception.
Rolling perception.
Then let us make.
Loading?
Uh,
Not great.
that would be a 3.
Okay.
Sorry,
So-
no.
Miss a perception roll.
Yep, yeah, that's a 3.
Okay. As you're making your way through you wind your way out of the caravanserai.
I'm
and-
busy making sure my copish is by its side.
And you're walking through the grand souk, through the bazaar, through its narrow alleyways and stalls, where Arslan stops briefly to pick up some wine from his stall, and then proceed through the grand souk on your way to the Medina, to Old Town. And yes, sir.
May I actually, may I use my, I have lucky, can I do that real quick before you go on?
Yeah, what were you gonna do?
I was gonna re-roll.
I'm gonna re-roll.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I get 3 re-rolls a day.
Okay.
Look, you need to fix that.
Okay, so that's better.
That's better.
That's 14.
Okay.
So I quickly adjust my kopesh and then begin scanning the crowd.
Well, as you're adjusting your kopesh, you see that you narrowly miss a guy who's trying to back out of a stall, who has a flagon in his hand, and as he steps around, you narrowly miss getting an elbow in the face from the guy, and you see he's wearing a dark gray cloak and black slacks, black top, and he has a very nasty looking scimitar on his side, and some of the wine from his flagon actually sloshes over and almost hits you, and he seems surprised, and he steps back and he says, "Step off, dog of a Kemet!"
This is not well.
Wait. Excuse me. I apologize for any accidents that happened. We're just moving. Let's move past quickly.
There is no need to apologize. Nothing has happened here.
We don't need anything to happen here either.
Indeed.
We're on business.
Indeed. There's
Something could happen here.
no need.
Then be on your way.
Enjoy your wine, fine sir.
That's how things start.
As I quickly throw my part of my robes over and just kick up a little dirt.
Sashay off.
Enough.
And as we're walking, the thing you didn't notice were the other 2 men that were very near.
Oh.
You could have ended up in a skirmish with 3 in one in a flash.
I'm sure I could.
That's what I meant when I said keep your wits about you and stay close. Let's move.
I assure you the other men were within my purview, but I defer to your wisdom, kind merchant.
Every warrior dies by the sword someday.
Perhaps, but I am no warrior. Just a humble guide.
Some die by fire. There's a wide variety of possibilities.
Eloquent.
True enough. Perhaps wolves. Let's continue.
Arslan leads you to the Grand Ziggurat, which is large and an enormous step pyramid structure located in the Gate of Heaven, which is the district, the quarter where most of the temples and cults gather. It's a maze of alleyways, tall walls, temples and shrines devoted to the cults and the deities. And you haven't been here before because you know that this is a delicacy. This is a delicacy that you're frequently, when it's in season, you get for the archpriest. And so you see that they've already arrived and that they're being unloaded. So, and you arrive with them to take them to.
Okay. I go to the person that would normally see us.
Right.
We're here to see the Archbishop,
The Archpriest.
Archpriest. Tell him Arslan is here, and I hope that his clams have arrived. I saw them being unloaded a few moments ago.
They are here and being packed away immediately. Thank you for your services rendered. Surely you are not here to partake of them yourselves, though.
We're not, but I do have some people that I'm meant to introduce to.
Additional business with the Archpriest?
Yes.
Then come along.
Thank you.
And he takes you in.
And we'll
Within the
head in.
thing.
You're much safer here, as long as you don't speak anything that is dangerous to yourself.
It's a very wide berth of targets to hit. It's best you stay quiet, right, Alex?
I'm not sure you said anything the whole trip.
I'm not sure that words need be spoken.
Agreed.
Contemptuous band of serpents.
The Serpent Kings died millennia ago. And we'll follow in.
Brought within, you are given some time to cool your heels a little bit.
Okay.
And eventually, you're taken into the Archpriest's chambers, and he's seated in it's set up like a triclinium. There's large couches around the perimeter of the room, and the Archpriest is on a centrally located one at the top of the room, and you see a very attractive musician playing. What do you play?
Lute, zills, sing, whatever he wants.
Okay, so there's a variety of instruments being played out, and
Just all at once.
I would imagine you would have your instruments at hand, that you would play. What's the string you play? You play the lute, right? She's playing
Lute,
Right,
yeah.
she's playing the lute.
If he just wants me to play and sing, it would be the lute.
Right, and you're also there as well in attendance on Palm, because there's no telling when he's gonna be moved to assist you.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you do have the scroll of She Rises is actually laid out, and it stretches out to about 40 feet, and it's illustrated, and it's filled with.
That was going to be my question. Is there pictures on it? Because if so, what a dirty old man.
Yes, and it's both lyric, it's both prose, or both poetry and illustrations, and it's erotic poetry. So
Of course it is.
with a very
I'm now understanding this Archbishop much more than I thought I would.
Archpriest.
Archpriest,
Archpriest.
right? Yes.
Stupid Catholic mother.
So and he and it's there. I mean, it's laid out, and once in a while he'll go and he'll read something and enjoy his hidden amusement.
Mm-hmm.
Your Reverence, someone seeking an audience with you. I believe you have business with this man. Ah, yes, my friend. Come.
I'll come up, I'll bow very low.
I just
for
copy because I
approaching too
don't
far.
know what's going on.
I don't bow.
I give a curt, polite.
Nod.
Harvin, I haven't seen such opulence since I was in Hakmani's court.
Look at that name drop.
Oh, he does speak.
Have we met?
We have. It has been quite some time, however. My mother Zalyim sends her regards. I'm here to be under your tutelage.
Ah, yes. I received a letter informing me that you would be coming. Yes. Yes, I am looking forward to offering you the hospitality of the Ziggurat and to accepting your service as a member of the temple. Yes?
Yes.
You are here to serve,
I am.
and I accept your service.
It is most appreciated.
I would remind you, of course, of the edict of Nasur-Bapal, the ancient one,
Yes.
that required all priests to sacrifice stone and stems. I do not mean to. I did not mean to startle you. Of course, that is a practice that has long since fallen out of practice.
Lucky for both of us.
Certainly lucky for you. However, as a policy, it does remain. What's that phrase? Etched in stone. All of those clever anecdotes about balls.
I found Ishtar in practice to be much more forgiving for the men.
I'm just standing there completely
On a
unaware.
number of different levels. You have my meaning, yes?
Yes, I do, of course.
Just so you know. And he'll say this in Quranian so that only you understand. Well, actually, who speaks Quranian?
I speak Iranian.
Anybody else?
don't
No.
believe I do.
Of the languages I speak, that isn't one of them.
That's fine. No worries.
Well, it's like I
mean,
speak like
we did say that like I speak Zhuangin and something.
You
else.
speak Zhangguan and Common, which is based on Quranian. It's the trade language, but
okay,
it's not. It's not that, but it's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay,
So,
okay.
and we're going to do the third one, but I figured it was Zhangguan and Gandharan and Common were the three. If you had three languages, but we'll
3 total. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll.
No,
yeah,
that's
don't worry.
that's fine. Yeah, that works.
So he
Argon.
tells you, just so long as you know who has your balls.
I give a small right.
I'm now just lost interest in everything. I'm like, cool, now I'm here.
Now I understand why Drunaglio had me bring these individuals to
Three
you.
idiots.
Let me also introduce Ibanel or Kepri, correct?
This is close enough.
And Volkmaria.
Volkmaria. Hello, it's a pleasure.
My close acquaintances may call me Kepri.
Why are they here? Why is she here?
Drunago sent me.
Apparently, she has suffered an injury of her mind and cannot recall very much since 6 months ago, you say?
About that time, yes.
Including where she is, where she's from. Do you know your name beyond Volkmaria?
That was a name that Drew gave me.
Oh, and potentially her name.
That's your name. That is
Is
your
it?
name. Yeah,
I
that's
thought
your
you decided that it wasn't.
No,
No,
that
it
is your
isn't?
name.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's your
No, that
name.
is my name. Sure.
Yeah, you remembered. You knew your name.
Sure.
So
I remember that
perhaps
much then.
your healing skills or healing arts can help with her mind, her memory.
He smiles, but he says, "Perhaps there is something that someone may be of assistance to you here."
Oh, the wine.
Of course.
And I brought you some wine because I know what would go amazing with the clams. I assume you got them, correct? And I'll give
They
it to
have
the
been
person who
delivered.
would bring it to him. I love the music, though. Very nice.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Is there something you'd like me to play for you?
I already love whatever you're playing. Don't need to change it on my account. Drunaglio, I believe, is going to be staying in the caravanserai for another day or so, but I don't know if he'll be here much more beyond that. Is there anything that you need me to bring to him? Any words or any information or messages? Okay.
No, but I would have you all attend, for I have been told earlier by the prince's astrologer to expect your coming.
Oh.
Signs and points.
Which I pay absolutely no mind or attention to. But sometimes numbers will align. And he gets up and gets off the dais where he is, and goes over to the wall where the scroll is laid out, and he sort of walks down and takes it in visually, and says, "Girl, I would have you tell me in front of these what you have learned of the cult."
You wish me to speak in front of everyone?
Must I repeat myself?
No. You are, of course, speaking of the Eye.
I do.
You wish to inform them of what I'm to do for you.
You have come at a time when I am as much in need of service as you are in need of it. And so, perhaps one hand will wash the other. The cult of Baal is one of the foundations upon which this city stands upon. And we are in the midst of a crisis. Not the cult. The city itself stands at a time of change and potential upheaval. And I am fain to say, I am loath to say prayed upon it, but I will say that I have meditated upon it. And at present, my own difficulties within my cult, a member of the cult has absconded with an important document. One of the few copies of an ancient tome, an ancient text which might be of service to you, girl. It was written in an ancient language, but contains spells and formulae that might be able to assist me in helping you. For I do discern that you were the victim of a charm.
A charm. You're saying that of the few number of wizards that are off in this world, I ran into one of them?
A powerful charm, in fact.
Right, yeah, that's...
And perhaps more than one.
Wow. Well, I'm batting 100 today.
One of my priests fled here within the month, and he took this very important work with him. 20 years ago, a radical cell gained power here in the city, and I believe that its adherents, although they were purportedly destroyed, still live and seek to return them to power. And I have sent Sabine in search of him.
He has fled to a heretical group called the Watchers of the Eye. They have ties, if I may speak freely,
Do.
to the hegemons of the Pearl.
The rabble that ruled the city for 15 years, and who were stamped out and destroyed, their leaders dealt with.
Malik also has been known to frequent a bordello in the Grotto of Silk Veils.
This is the faithless priest that served us, Malik.
As well as a shop known as the Ivory Horn, where he purchased items that would assist him in his adventures in the bordello. It might be a place to start in terms of gathering information about him and where his whereabouts might be. But it is then our charge to retrieve the book and Malik, if at all possible, for justice.
I want this apocalyptic cult squashed, stamped out, destroyed. They are meeting somewhere here in the city. They have attracted a small number of rabble to them, but like any small infestation, it will grow if left unchecked.
And of course, anything that the cult happens to have in their possession that would be of interest to the archpriest, we are to return as well.
In return for your assistance, I will of course grant you such boons as you require, and request and need. And you, my friend, I will see you greatly rewarded. As you as well.
But of course, I would expect nothing less from the High Priest of Baal.
It troubles me that the hegemon of the Pearl is resurrected, or potentially is coming out of hiding.
Would someone mind filling me in on what the hegemon of the Pearl might be?
They, for a time, ran the city, and the city was in a much worse place because of it.
So they were like very far, very reactionary cult that basically outlawed all fun, if you will.
Christmas is canceled.
Yeah, exactly.
The celebration was always celebrate. Every celebration had hangings or beheadings.
Have you watched Game of Thrones?
No.
I will say,
But I know what
would I
happens,
have
just
been
tell me.
would I have been made aware of this cult at
there's
any
art.
point in time?
It was probably so far. This area is it's not so far from. It's far enough away from where you were from to not have been particularly aware of or concerned. You had your hands full
Right.
with the
I know.
Rakshasa kings.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
And
just like-
and this cult sort of it's you could look at it sort of almost like, what is it, like in the Handmaid's Tale, a very reactionary group that outlawed
what is it, the
all.
Fathers?
They were going to
The New Fathers.
stamp out all vice and and return to a time of great decency.
Puritanical
and
significance.
right, exactly right, with great puritanical antecedents, and so it ruled for a number of years, and they actually cleaned up the place for a long time. This cult came in to power in the immediate aftermath of when the kings fled from Vadishar, and there's a whole story about that also. But Vadishar used to have its own kings, and then that dynasty ended, and there was a period of chaos, and that was ended by the rule of the hegemons of the Pearl being the moon in the sky, and that was the center of their apocalyptic cult worship and their message. And so after a time when the place became when the perpetuation of the dictatorship became more important than the common welfare of the people, the powers that be that supported it threw it out, took their power away from it, and it ended, and then the patricianate was established, and that's the current government, which is a more enlightened oligarchy of powerful interests, as opposed to before, which was an unenlightened oligarchy of powerful interests.
And
So,
the bringing them to heel was far from bloodless.
Of course.
Far from it.
Well, with whatever information Anupam has, but he just observed being in the room, he's going to go to the high priest, the archpriest, and tell him that if you require any assistance with this, I feel kind of a duty to help out if I need to.
you're an outsider. These watchers are they are engaged, I feel, in more than merely moon gazing. I believe that they are seeking to attract the lost, the anchorless, the rudderless to their message. One that I suspect is not just merely one of elevating the poor and disenfranchised from their current state. I believe that there is something far more insidious about their message. But I feel that as an outsider, you and perhaps some of these others may be uniquely positioned to infiltrate and find out what their particular agenda is. And, of course, retrieving the Book of Iluk will not only help the Burgothian girl perhaps overcome whatever effects of this charm has impacted her, but may also enable me to translate certain parts of this ingenious scroll which contains much more than, shall we say, meets the eye. I believe perhaps that some of what I seek is also to be found here within the scroll, also apropos of a greater mission, far more removed than the wonderful writings of the blessed Parneshma.
You know what?
Clever as he may have been in his remonstrances in erotic poetry.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. That actually does make a bit of sense. Also, to be honest, at first I kind of just took you for a common pervert, but that actually now is starting to make a lot more sense now.
I can assure you that
Oh God.
my perversions are anything but common.
Are the rest of us hearing this, or are you doing off in a separate room?
He's talking on the. You're present.
Oh, great.
This is he's
Just
buttonhole.
solely uncomfortable.
It is good to know that our group is composed of a fountain of honesty.
I assure you also that they are far removed from the concerns of the present mundane world. But I would offer that there are challenges that far exceed the Rakshasa kings, and I believe that those who enabled the destruction. Remember, guys, we can hear everything on the microphones. Thank you. I would offer that everything that takes place, everything that impacted and the betrayal that brought down the scale of fate is far more reaching than meets the eye.
And my lord, if I'm not mistaken, was the book of Illignat transcribed in Gandhar?
Indeed, the ancient book that I seek has many Proto-Gandharan verses within it that I think will help our discussion. And I believe that the Watchers themselves figure in this, but we will determine more as you learn more. I think that your first order of business is to seek out this cult, is to seek out these Watchers of the Eye, find out where they are, and find out how you can join them.
Fair enough.
If that's what it takes.
It's a big city, but they can't be operating only in the shadows. They won't find enough recruits. They have to be making some kinds of noise somewhere.
I leave you to your own devices then.
Thank you very much.
My lord, am I also to attempt to infiltrate this group?
You will join them, and they you.
But if I am known here in the city, would I not be suspicious?
You should take care not to be uncovered then.
Yes, my lord.
And you were brought out of the archpriest's chambers.
I have rooms in my stall at the bazaar. It won't be comfortable. It will be tight, but it will keep us together in one place where there are no prying eyes.
And I would offer, and you can use his place of business as a place to as a staging point. Of course, Alexides, you have a place to stay at the temple.
I'm staying at the temple.
Right, and I imagine, Kepri, you have accommodations.
I have me.
It's too dangerous for me to not stay in the temple.
Oh.
At a
stay.
fair price, I'm sure.
It's dangerous for me to stay wherever, but
Right.
it's too dangerous for me
Who
to
did
stay
you
elsewhere.
piss off?
So, as concerns
Not your business.
as concerns this issue we need to deal with, it is important that we know what our threats are. And if you bring a threat upon all of us, you should let us know what the threat is, or at least
Fair enough.
how to defend ourselves in advance of what's coming. We can prepare then.
Fair enough.
We do not ask for all your secrets, just the ones that may kill us.
Those who would see,
For once we agree.
how should I phrase this?
I find we agree on the
Those with interests of seeing the crown prince of the Coronian Empire sit on his throne would wish me dead.
Well, that explains a
That's
lot.
a very
Um,
large pool of people.
To be fair, I don't believe that my attention, my presence should warrant any attention from anyone that would look to bring me harm. But just be aware, I do have a bit of a history with a big bad group that is currently not in this area. But I doubt that they
The
would see me
Rakshasa
as
Kings.
yes them. I would doubt they would
And
see
what-
me
what
as
is-
much of a
What are
threat.
the?
What
I
is-
don't.
what-
I've never heard of the Rakshasa Kings.
Nor have I.
They're basically a group that wish to sow chaos into my country.
Luckily for us, then, we are not in your country.
Yes, luckily for you.
I don't know if anyone's trying to kill me. If there's someone that is, I'm sorry. I'm kind of here to figure that out.
Well, someone is trying to do something. They've wiped your memory in some way, and only Sorcelman can do it. He even.
We'll act under the guise that there
said
is
that.
someone out there trying to kill me.
Yes.
You know, to be fair, I mean, of course, I don't know you at all. It doesn't seem that you even know you at all. So maybe for the time being, wearing your hood everywhere you go might be in the best interest of keeping a low profile.
Because a giant white fox fur is low profile.
We should replace that with something more unassuming.
We can befit you in some clothing that will be.
I will tend to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't believe I caught your name.
Sabine.
Volkmara.
Welcome, Sabine. My abode will not be as comfortable as the ones you had in the Temple to Baal, but they will be comfortable enough and it'll be safe enough.
I'm sure it will be fine. I do not live in the temple.
Is everyone else going to spend the night in Arslan's?
I believe it's just.
And
I
it's
think it's just the
daytime too, by the
three
way.
of
It's
us.
daytime. It's not nighttime.
Oh,
It's still very much
Yeah,
daytime.
I'm staying in the temple as well.
Okay.
So
Okay, so it's just the me and Sabine.
Is there anyone else who feels the need to alter their appearance while we undertake this mission?
If you have the means,
I do.
I would welcome that.
It would be
assistance.
for the best.
Very well. Have we arrived at his...
Yes, you have.
Come to the back with me.
Just walk off.
And you're gonna apply makeup to whom?
Yes, I'm going to use my disguise ability,
May I watch as you do
makeup,
your work?
everything, costuming. Yes.
Great.
I'm both me and both Mario.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
myself.
So it'll be it'll be the three of us. So.
How impressive of a change is it?
Should I roll?
How impressive.
Go ahead. Yeah, make a roll.
Okay, so
Splat.
it's just
Like
just
a
nothing
disc
changes.
on their face, over the face.
fake nose is kind of half hanging off.
Disguise kit.
It's connected to glasses.
What would disguise
and a
come off
mustache.
of?
That would be
Usually-
in terms of-
if you're
It's
proficient, then it's Dex plus proficiency, basically.
Oh, okay, so 16, 21.
Oh,
Is
wow.
that for, is that for me or
We
for,
look very different.
That's pretty good.
That's great, dude. Nice
For
of
Who
you.
are
Oh,
you?
that's for all of us?
Do it for everybody.
Alright,
So
so
who was
that's
the
for
first
me?
person?
Okay.
Okay.
23.
For
That's
me,
for you.
Dang. Wow.
It would be more suspicious if I was changed.
I'm going to keep the name Alex of
expected
House
to be
Serene
Mhm.
instead of my actual name.
Oh, yeah, then I should
17 for me.
well
I'm
my
very
character
impressed.
while in this city I
17
guess
also
will be referred to as Maria?
Sure.
Maria.
Mari?
Maria.
Maria, that works.
Mari? Okay.
Mari? Which
Yeah.
one's Mari sounds more different in my opinion.
Yeah, Mari.
Whatever you want.
Mari, so yeah.
Yeah.
So disguise.
Do you see my glasses on that side? On
They're
this
on the
side?
ground.
Oh, they are. Oh, that's fine. Oh,
I got a mic.
There we go. And the lens popped out.
And I would say this to the rest of you. Whilst we travel within the city's walls, please refer to me as Alex of House Serene.
Alex of House
You
Serene.
still have to be a lord, don't you? Can't just be Alex.
It would not be advised for you to be a lord, considering what we're attempting to do.
Call me
Yes,
Alex.
This
Yeah.
cult preys on the lower caste of society. So if you were attempting to infiltrate, I would say probably not being a lord would help this.
Cool. So
You will be
Does it
Alex.
really vex you this much to be not a lord?
You have no idea.
You will be Alex.
Fine.
You will be Gloria.
I make the concession.
You may call me Aja.
Trust me, it's
I am
not
your
that
assistant at this stall now.
Aja. I've only had assistants that were children. Will be a step up for me.
What are
she
you
won't
going
actually assist
Aja.
you.
by? Aja?
Aja.
In the eyes of
Got it.
the people
So-
who frequent the bazaar.
And
We're just wearing like really plain clothing now. Like there's no.
Just
I'm
to-
not
We
not
all
covered
look
in the
like
furs that I
peasants.
was.
We all look like Vadishar.
for the sake of brevity, you could just call me Anu.
I thought we're all changing names now. I was like, nope, we're all shifting. What's yours?
We're all pseudo
Anu.
shifting names.
Anu.
Yeah.
Just constantly shifting.
I mean, we're trying to go into
A death cult.
We're,
We're trying
we're
to go into a
trying
death
to
cult.
infiltrate a cult. We should almost certainly not do it under the guise of ourselves.
What happens if they want our social security numbers?
Or what?
I think I will have some food brought to us so that we
It's
can
like you're gonna
discuss
check the other door. Yeah, you have a photo ID?
what we can do. Give
Thank you.
me a few
I-
minutes. And I'll go out and I'll
Moloch
find a food mate,
is-
someone who makes food, and have some food brought to us when it's ready,
Arslan,
so that we can stay in and
Okay.
discuss.
I would require your assistance.
Yes. What do you need?
Are you able to change these for smaller denominations? And I hand him
Some-
5 derricks.
5 gold coins. Yeah, you can change.
Oh yeah, I only have
I'm gonna
gold
assist
coins
you
on
with
me.
that.
I only have
It's maybe
10.
more difficult than we were expecting.
Yeah, I was
What's
just a little.
What's the
Yes,
standard
I'm a bit skimmed at
conversion
the
rate?
moment.
No one remembers what the conversion rate is.
You mean what's the? You mean what's the exchange rate
Yeah.
and what's your percentage? What do you
Like, what's
get?
the exchange rate between dollars and pesos, pretty much?
And then you wonder why you have trouble sleeping. What? So, and I
I'll
would
convert
offer
it.
to.
the smallest bill
Equally,
that
we're all
It's the smallest bill you have.
Pulls out a stack of hundreds. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Now I would offer
I just
that
need a Coke.
you have that having settled into the environs of your shop in the caravanserai. You have quite a bit of information about what you need to know. You may not all have it, but I would just let you know that there is quite a bit of information to start you off on wherever you want to go with this.
Well, you told us that.
Basically, I'm looking at you.
Oh, yeah, you have all the information. So you worked, you were archpriest? That's such an odd type. You worked with the archpriest. What do you know about this cult?
I know only what anyone else would know, that the hegemon of the Pearl are a potential danger to Vadishar, and that Malik, this priest of Baal, absconded with some important artifacts, including the Book of Ilok, and that he had interesting sexual interests, and
He was a
that
pervert.
he needed money to continue to afford them.
What kind of interesting sexual preferences?
Well, let's just say
Well, that's
that
between a priest and his god.
the bordello that he frequented was called Namshar's Youth.
Make a roll,
Oh,
Alexides.
please tell me.
roll history.
History? Oh god.
I'm very proficient in history.
Oh, goody.
And that was a cocked die. 19.
So of course, and any, even without the proficiency, you would know that Namshur is one of the 4 prophets
Yes.
of the Quranian religion, and so Namshur's youth. In fact, he is called Namshur the Youth.
Yes.
And so Namshur's youth, being a homosexual bordello, is probably a randy play, an irreverent play on that name. You know, maybe it's even owned by a Quranian expatriate or something. But you recognize the name Namshur and the youth, and so you would know that it was a dirty play on the name of one of the four prophets.
Rather tasteless.
Because I had
Yeah,
a whole
there you go.
different idea
And I
in
know-
mind when you said
I-
that.
Me and
name.
you are in the same
Yeah,
thought.
exactly.
Well, I mean,
wouldn't-
obviously, there's
yeah.
no. It's not. It's not a subtle point that they're making.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's,
I think
they're-
it's exactly what you were thinking.
I think it's both of us.
And I know the bordello that he
It
had
can be
mentioned
everything
before.
to everyone.
Oh.
Something of the ivory.
No, well, there was another. No, and then
Ivory Horn
and,
was a
and she
shop.
mentioned it also, right? The other
Right,
place
that
is a shop, right? It's called the Ivory Horn. It's a
Yeah.
sex shop in the Grotto of Silk Veils.
Yeah, of
course.
They make
That's
sex
obviously right.
toys.
Yeah.
Ancient
And the
sex
Grotto of Silk
toys.
Veils,
I mean,
though,
the
to,
ivory horn.
to get to the Grotto of Silk
Makes
Veils,
sense.
you have to go through a much more dangerous section of the city. It is, if you survive the first part, the pleasures of the courtesans await you, and so does the robbery of the courtesans await you.
All right. So it's
It would seem that we have little other choice. We have no more leads than these to go on.
Correct.
so we split up.
We do have
No.
another
we're,
option.
we're safer together, especially there.
Yes.
Party.
The other option, or rather, another option we should also pursue
What
is
other
trying
than the
to-
sex shop and the
Yes,
okay.
trying to get the direct attention of the eyes, or the Watchers of the Eye. They're looking for the downtrodden. They're looking for the vulnerable. They're looking for people who are disgruntled, who may want to join them. Perhaps
Yes.
people who work at a stall, who don't feel that they're being properly compensated, and are trying to drum up attention as to the plight of the poor underclasses. Maybe one of the people, or groups of people, that the Watchers would like to make a part of their group.
A viable plan, but once a boat has been put in water and gone downstream, it is hard to bring it back to its point of origin. I think we should save that plan until we have laid the groundwork with a bit more knowledge.
There is a seed to something there, though. Most people who spend time in the bazaar know who I am in my shop. I'm not the downtrodden, but I could have acquired some people who are the downtrodden, and could abuse them in some ways. That
Perhaps
is
loudly and in
obvious.
front of others.
Yes.
I get a strong inclination that he's talking about us.
Really?
I apologize in advance if I have to yell at you or something. I know it is not.
First you lose your title, then you get yelled at by a bazaar owner.
Perhaps
How do
we
you
should be
feel now?
slaves.
At least I am alive.
I do have
That
practice
is looking
with
on the
that.
bright side.
I'm not known for dealing in slaves, but it has happened once or twice where they came as part of a purchase of something else, and everyone knows that I find it unseemly and I try to unload them, and I'm uncomfortable having them in my ownership for long. It might be worth.
Some know
Moving-
that I was bought by Drew as a slave. That's how we initially met.
That's not a bad way to start off, I think.
Slavery is a disgusting practice.
I agree, but
Glad that we're all
I
hitting
agree.
that low bar of humanity.
Oh,
Thank you.
come now. It's not so bad. If they are treated well.
Low bar of humanity that you fail to trip over.
golden chains are still chains.
So say you.
So say a lot of people.
Mm.
You sound
Better-
like you're
better-
already ready to join. There are a
Perhaps.
few monks that carry gold, much gold on them.
I am one of them. Or at least ran out, at least.
So is that the plan then? Have us three be your slaves that you're trying to loudly get rid of?
It's a solid plan, and there are enough people who would believe it.
If you'd like, you could perhaps send us first to the bordello and the ivory horn to fetch something.
Right. To move the wares.
If you are uncomfortable in this, I would be willing to play some role. After all, no one would bat an eye twice if a chemish serpent were to loudly proclaim his slaves, proclaim the joys of slavery and take his liberties. I am open to whatever suggestions you may have.
I'm assuming you're not asking if you can beat these people before
Oh,
selling
no,
them.
of course not. I meant a metaphorical beating.
I am liking this
Mostly.
idea less and less now.
I think we should be prepared to do what's necessary.
Meetings will continue until morale improves. We're going to take a break and then come back in 10 minutes. Stay with us. Thank you very much and welcome back. Thanks for staying with us through the break. When last we left, we were, the Zealots of Zul found themselves at Arslan's stall at the caravanserai, where he had brought in food, lamb, goat, wine, and a few of the azure of the cobalt clams that he had secreted away from
Fancy.
the archpriest's
Stole
ship.
There's only enough for everyone to have one, but
I'll
And they're
pass.
big, and
I'll
you
just-
pry them
I
apart,
will
and
have
they're really
those.
shiny and cobalt inside. Very interesting blue, royal blue.
I'll take all your shells.
Oh, we found something out during the break is that because of how Volkmara looks, just the lovely monk is making such hard eyes at her. It's kind of funny.
I didn't. I
And
didn't
it's just
really,
going
I
over
got
her
the
head.
wrong visual when I was like.
Oh yeah, no, Volkmara is this. She's like 5'11", like pure muscle, with long flaming red hair, and just she
Yeah,
was
nothing
covered in
counts,
like
yeah.
animal skins as like clothing, and now she's in just regular clothes, I guess.
And her hair is covered so as not to draw
Yeah, it's
attention
just
to flaming
she's
red
just
hair.
not wearing it in like a bun with like a mask over it.
I think because the idea that we have is really a one-shot opportunity. I think we should scout out these locations first and send some people in to understand what is happening there and what is there before we risk putting everyone's lives in such danger as quickly as that.
I also find slavery to be rather tasteless and would much
Me
rather
too.
explore more, though unsavory, more civilized means of information gathering.
You know, there are people who are of means that go to some of these places. Perhaps a disguise is not really the appropriate thing for you.
Perhaps a disguise is still necessary to hide my true
But one that's
identity, but perhaps I regain a noble title.
Damn it!
a nobleman hiding in plain sight.
Fair enough.
Or perhaps someone from Komet would be more appropriate to send to one of these places, as they're already mistrusted and thought of as degenerates. No offense meant to, of course.
Of course not.
Such a
Side
stereotype.
effects. Side effects.
There is a kernel of truth in what she says. My home is a lovely place.
And that must be why you're here.
No, I am here for other reasons, my dear. Perhaps one day you may never find those out.
I have a feeling that one day I'll never find out a lot of things.
Good.
Well, you're starting from a base that's very easy to work with.
Yeah.
You
When
already
you start-
don't know.
When you start at zero, going up is not difficult.
Perhaps the gentleman from Komet could take his two
Escort.
female slaves to.
I don't even think they need to necessarily be slaves at this moment.
Courtesans?
Because you can change the disguises.
It's true, but I will remind you, it does take a good deal of work.
Right, but we have two opportunities to do this. One as who we are now, already several in disguise, not as slaves, but to learn what there is to acquire in these places now. And then if we need to infiltrate further, then we can take on the risk of I can tell you, if someone gets sold into slavery or stolen into slavery, which can also happen here,
That is
it
how I
can be
kinda
the
ended up
end
here.
of them as a free person for the rest of their lives.
Let them
It's
try.
not a safe risk in the city.
They only need to succeed once, my friend.
Then at that rate, I've already had my one success and I'm good to go.
I think that we should have one amongst our number travel to this ivory horn, seeking to procure goods to satisfy their own perverse desires, and see what additional information they might garner from this shop.
Which is why I suggested the gentleman from Komet.
And then
I
have
see no
someone
issue with
else.
this.
The expectations are already there.
Indeed.
Ah, yes, playing to the stereotype. I do so enjoy it. Very well, I humbly submit to the group that I will humbly volunteer for the duty of exploring this ivory horn.
You should not go alone.
Of course not. I would
we should go at nearly the same time, but not together, all of us.
Do you
Small
wish to go
groupings.
as you are, as a known person here, frequenting such a place?
I'm known to frequent many places, but not for those things. I'm known to frequent them to find things for other people, to acquire for others.
I was about to say, are you not a procurer of commodities? It would not be too unusual.
If
That's
that is your
correct.
reputation.
Well, me and this one can go in at the same time if you're not opposed to that.
Oh, no. Why would I be?
Arslan,
You can do
I
your talking, though.
propose that you go
Perhaps that is
along
best.
with me, representing me as a procurer of goods, and I as a noble seeking something difficult.
I think Sabine should accompany us also. And I think that
I'll
Miss
stay here.
Maria
I'll just stay
should
here.
accompany them.
Or I'll go with them.
Accompany them. She makes more sense. She understands the trappings of power.
Fair enough.
So that's the plan? Us
Two
three
groups.
and then you three?
Two groups go in, both not at the same time, but very soon after, soon after the other, so that there's opportunities for us to see what the others are doing. Perhaps someone in one of the groups will be attracted to one of these criminals.
No, let me ask. Let me ask perhaps the obvious yet not so obvious question, the viper hidden in the grass, if you will. How would we go about saying this? One does not simply say, I wish to join your, have information on your heretical cult and or disgraced priests.
You have
of
many
all."
complaints about being chased from your land by the Rakshasa kings. You are as disgruntled as someone can be at this moment.
That's a fair point.
Disgruntled is the word you used, correct?
Yes.
Disgruntled.
And I am currently.
You don't
without
even
a
know
home.
who you are.
I have no
You're
reason.
such an easy target. Such an easy target.
And of course, Aja is quite sick of working for you.
I suppose
Everyone is sick of working for me once they've worked for me once or twice. Oh, did you mean him?
No, she meant you.
I suppose I will have to, though it is far out character, I will have to play the role of the abusive master for my house servant here. Loudly.
I would not look to sell tonight.
I would. My investments are a bit long term.
So back into enslavement I go. Great, let's
Only
go.
one.
Well, there's a slave market in Vadashar anyway. Although,
Yeah,
which
there
isn't to say that slaves aren't bought and sold on their own, but
private. Was it private sale?
Private sale,
Yeah,
right?
private
Yeah,
sale.
yeah, which happens, of course, naturally.
It is good, though, for anyone who's going to be representing themselves as a slave to have a clear owner, so as not to get stolen themselves.
I trust the monk more.
The monk would not be a slave owner.
Once again, I humbly offer my services
Yes.
as the villain
It
of
makes
this
sense.
tale.
And to be fair,
You're
I mean, it'd be a bit,
multi-talented. You're-
I think
there's
it would be
no
a bit
other
of a hard
facets.
sell to. I think it would be a bit of a hard sell for a slave to sneak out in the middle of the night in order to attend cult meetings. However, if I were to just be in his employ, and saying that I'm only doing this for the simple fact that he might actually be paying me, then I believe that would be probably enough for anybody who is in the market to recruit new people to jump on it.
You might so far as be disgruntled that he not be paying you enough.
I have been known to be quite stingy when it comes to my hirelings.
We could all, in fact, be workers who just aren't being paid enough.
It'd make more sense.
It would
Perhaps.
make us perhaps more attractive to the Watchers. Whereas a runaway
No
slave
enslavement.
could
Yes.
bring about consequences. Notice.
I will,
Do we have to go
acquiesce
through
to
the
the
labyrinth? Is that that's
No,
the,
no, no,
that's
no.
not where we go to get to the
No. I mean, the
the
city's
Silk
laid out
Vales,
like a
right?
city. I mean, you don't have to
Silk
cut through any. There's no. I mean, that's a neighborhood like any
I
other.
want to make
I
sure
was
we
going
don't
to say, we don't have to go through Martin Luther King Boulevard, do we? We don't have to worry about any getting shanked anywhere, right?
the city's laid out like a city, so you don't have to go through any particular neighborhood to get around.
Okay, good.
Anna, make an insight roll. It's based on wisdom.
I get the proficiency bonus and the bonus.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you are proficient.
11. I mean 13. No, 11. Sorry.
Okay.
11.
Which is it?
Altogether,
Yes.
Okay,
Altogether.
so
When you have to
one
do
of the
math.
things that you know from having spent time in Badishar is you know that there's always going to be disaffected people in a large city, but among the most disaffected are the people that feel, well, in this city anyway. For instance, you know that in Vinar, every city has its own disaffected people for its own reasons. You know, in Balkan, there's a reason. You know, that city is under occupation, and so those people are disaffected
Right.
when the sun comes up, and the occupiers are disaffected themselves, as they don't like to be. But here, the most loudly disaffected. Make another insight roll.
It's just
I was
offering
gonna
you
say
that.
Okay.
there's a slight downfall.
You know that the most verbally and loudly disaffected are known as the Legion of Caliph. And they are who take their name from the Valley of Caliph, which is and generally speaking, they believe that all of the problems that many of Vadishar's problems would erase if the kings returned to Vadishar. And
Okay.
and you know a little bit about the kings also.
Yes.
So well, thank you very much. So and among the most disaffected, in other words, it would be, if you go into different places, there's loud disaffected, but and they have a disproportionate number of the Legion are made up of Mordoxy's bastards.
Woo!
So those are possible places to. Are the cookies on this side of the table any better than the cookies on that side? I'm just asking because you actually had to go out of your way. There was a bucket brigade of chocolate chip cookies. I'm sorry.
I completely forgot
See,
there
I
was a
just
box
put my
back there.
second
See,
right.
everyone just
Right.
keeps forgetting that you're there.
So no, it's cool. I like it. It's a good cooperation. Excellent cooperation, guys.
Teamwork.
See, it was a team building exercise.
Exists. Well done. So those people tend to be the Mordoxy's bastards and the Legion of Caliph not every Mordoxy's bastard is a member of the Legion, and not every member of the Legion is a Mordoxy's bastard. Although many are bastards, but that's
Right, not necessarily
Mordoxy's.
one of Mordoxy's bastards,
Right.
right. Okay.
I'm just mentioning that.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Show.
And they're the remnants of a previous group that led the city.
Of
The tyrant that
of when
led
the
it for a while.
Coranians came over to Vadishar
And ravaged it in every way possible, leaving
Yes.
children everywhere, and then
yes.
Folkmar
about
is just
25
like,
years
cool,
ago.
history lesson in the middle of this.
25 years ago.
Mardoxes was dealt with in a way that was befitting of what it is that he did.
Murder? I feel like that's murder.
Well,
Cool.
to be clear, all of the children are not Mordoxes. They're those of his men. He was not so
Soldiering.
prolific on his own.
I would to say. What's to say?
No man is, no matter what they say.
At least some of those bastards belong to other people.
Again, we just did it 20,000 times. No, maybe.
Okay. So we go now. Makes the best sense. I'd like to
yes,
just over into
you're
the-
already disguised. We'll go this evening.
I mean, they
Eat
have
up
in the,
before we go.
Yeah. There are. Make an insight roll.
19.
Woo!
You have heard that the Gilded Palm in Old Town place where many of the Legion sit, and, where in the Gilded Palm, let's just say they have a portrait of one of the old kings on the wall.
Is that not one of the places that I performed? The name sounds familiar.
Maybe you, yeah.
So someone else should do it.
Okay, so the three of us are gonna go first, right?
I suppose so.
And
So-
where were you planning on going? I'm sorry.
The
Ivory
horn.
You were going to go to the sex shop, right? And you were going to. And who was going to go?
yes.
We were
It's,
going in 2 groups of 3.
So
Two groups
it's
of three.
me.
1, 2, 3, and 1.
They've
2,
obviously never been to a sex shop.
3. Or maybe we've been to the wrong ones.
Hey, you
the
know.
most
No,
fun.
I'm just
Excuse
kidding.
me.
Right? Let's-
We're going to the sex shop for the right reason. There are 3 people here. We know exactly what we are here for.
We're not here for toys.
There's
we're
not
here
even
for
5 of
information.
us.
There's it's an intimate thing.
No, we're
Mars is like-
together. We're all together. We're
Yeah.
Just like
We're just planning.
3 men in
Weird
trench
thing.
robes to a place together.
No, it's just 3 children
We're
in
in
one
trouble.
child.
Yes.
Pulls up,
Gee, I've never been in such an establishment, Defendi.
pulls up a sleeve. Watches? You want watches?
I do, by a
Sundial. You want a sundial?
I have the best rhino lotus here.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I mean, going in, I think perhaps best way to play this, considering the fact that we're going into a sex shop, is that maybe best way to play this is employer's courtesan slash
Move
companion,
on from slave.
not companion, not slave, and employer's employee.
I will be
A
the
shop of carnal pleasures sounds better than the word you keep using.
Yes, a shop of carnal
Sure,
pleasures.
let's go with that.
of earthly delights.
What have you?
I might want to suggest that I know you wish for some reason for both groups to go. Perhaps going to another place might be better. We have no guarantee that these places were where Malik actually encountered Watchers. They're simply places that he frequented. It's possible they were there, but it's also just as possible that he went to many of the.
Well, don't we want Malik of all else? He has the book that we need.
Yes, but he may not have encountered them at these shops. He may have encountered them elsewhere. There are several bars in Old Town, taverns.
Malik
where-
stole money from the temple to help pay for his habit. So
Right,
that's
okay.
a solid lead that he went to these places, but
So this is probably not the best place.
well,
to
chances
start
are he
looking
probably
for.
doesn't have the book. The book probably, as the
He
article
moved it.
said, he moved it, right. He took it for somebody, you know.
Yeah.
There are
Cool.
several taverns in Old Town where the disgruntled congregate, such as the Gilded Palm. I happen to know that there are loyalists to the king there, and other people who would like to see a change in government.
Well, the night is long. Let's start there and see if there's nothing that happens there. There's always time to move on.
So
These
earthly,
shops never close until the
This-
day comes up.
so earthly
You know,
pleasures, then tavern. Right?
Maybe we would
But
do
go
better in
Gilded
the town,
Palm
actually.
first.
I feel as if the Garden of Earthly Delights would be more a fruitful way to figure out the cult. I have a plan in mind that I might be able
You
to
know,
use.
there's going to be a question as to what you're purchasing
Oh.
while you're there.
Oh, I have
I have the
I have a
strong
list in
finish that
mind.
he knows.
You know, I'm just the employee there. I'm just following him wherever he goes.
My
I
duty.
think the Gilded Palm would be a safer first step before we're going into something as risky as that one.
But why not divide up the groups?
You could go to both places.
We
We
could.
could. I mean, I feel
So-
like first place to go should probably be the Ivory Horn because of the fact that it's still daytime. They'll still be open, whereas a tavern goes through all hours of the night.
As does
Plenty of
the
time.
Ivory Horn, I imagine. And you cannot
Yes.
assume that the Gilded Palm would be safer.
Can
Is the
understand
Gilded
any-
Palm in the
Perhaps.
less than reputable parts?
It's in Old Town.
must forgive me, I've only been to Vadishar a handful of times and never for much long.
Honestly, there are no reputable parts of Vadishar.
Very well. Allow me to amend that statement then.
It's not a particularly seedy part.
Okay,
The
yeah.
Medina, which is Old Town, is not particularly dangerous.
Okay, that's what
There
I mean.
are certain areas of the city that are very dangerous, and
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
that's what I'm
That's not
asking.
one of
It's just not absurdly dangerous.
Okay.
Okay.
There's
It
risks
is
everywhere, but
simply a place where the working class, the honest working class, live and go about their business.
So that might be the best place to look.
I still say if we're going to go in two groups, have two groups go two different places.
Here's what I
I
think.
would
Maybe
I'm in agreement.
maybe if we go to the Ivory Horn, we don't necessarily have to play a part, but instead just go there asking about our dear friend Malik, who we haven't seen in a while.
Seems too obvious.
Mm.
Far too
Same.
obvious.
That's fair.
Trust,
However,
trust me, my aesthetic friend. I do have a plan.
So
I would refrain from mentioning Malik as well.
Do not
in,
worry.
any,
Things
in
will
any
go
way,
our
or
way.
even suggest Malik directly.
wonderful.
Or the
I
temple
think
at
that
all.
whatever we do, we should do it sooner rather than later. This talking is getting us nowhere.
all right, then the three of us go to the
Sorry,
tavern
that was
and the
totally
three of them
incorrect.
go to the horn.
No.
It makes more sense that way.
Fair enough.
Well, so we will split. We will split our forces, and we will go to our respective places, and we will meet back here.
and who goes to the Gilded Palm?
The three of us.
No, you three go to the.
Three of. I should not go to the Gilded Palm.
No, that's what I'm saying. You're going to the horn. You're going to the horn. Horn, palm, palm, palm.
Okay. I
Okay,
like
so
that idea.
you two and her are going to the tavern.
I feel such sadness parting.
Just knocks over the
Yeah.
camera.
Got
You
it.
You're gonna
three
need to-
are going
Oh,
to
wait.
you and Kepri and Sabine are going to the Ivory Horn.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
Ivory Horn Tavern?
No,
Alexides,
everyone.
make a history roll.
Alexides, Volkmara, and
Honor.
Eleanor.
Are going to the Gilded Palm.
Very
Yes.
The three of us are going to the
that
tavern.
is
Or going to
a
the
20.
Ivory Horn.
Okay, sweet. All right, so you make your way through from the caravanserai through the Great Souk, the marketplace, and up and around the Grand Casbah, which is the former castle of the kings. It's in the center of the city. There are actually some smaller fortresses within, and it is one of the walled sections within the city. But you make your way around that and approach the Grotto of Silk Veils, which is a quarter. This is the pleasure quarter of the city. It's filled with all manner of depravities, including gambling halls, drinking houses, bordellos, fighting pits, and lotus smoking dens. It is a district in which prostitutes abound, and you also fairly close to as you cross over from the Great Souk towards the grotto, you see a large building with with fake battlements. It looks like it wants to be either a castle or maybe a temple, but it's neither. And there are many religious statuary on the outside, but they're mostly of a fertility motif, you know. And hanging around on the outside are women very scantily clad and looking more like they're probably working, but trying to suggest the motif of temple temple prostitutes. But they look they're probably more just regular prostitutes and not so much of the temple variety.
Red light district.
Yeah, exactly. As you cross the street, you see there is a large nondescript shop that has on the outside on the door, in fact, a large decorative ivory horn coming out of it. And There's no windows. There looks like there might have been windows, but there's wood and outside. It's very nondescript, and it seems to be discreet from the outside.
Except for the giant horn.
And as you stand outside and look, you see the door opens, and someone with a wrapped brown bundle wrapped in,
Discreet brown
tied up in
And like
brown
muslin.
packaging, leaves and walks down the street.
And doesn't make eye contact with us.
The discreet brown paper package, if you will.
I was about to say, do I need to make an insight check on that?
So,
Well, we're not with them. We're
so
still-
I
okay,
know, that's what I'm
I
saying,
just want to
yeah.
clear something up. Show of hands, who is there right now? Me.
And you.
Oh, it's me.
Right. Correct.
We were just double checking.
No, I know it's not.
That's
You
all right.
guys-
I
We keep
forgot that
pointing.
we changed the plan at the last minute.
This alters things
Yeah,
slightly
okay.
because I had a whole thing to go through.
Okay. So, what do you do?
Let's go in. Is your plan ready?
I did wish for our aesthetic friend, but I suppose.
So we're winging it. I open the door.
Indeed. I quickly move in.
Could be
Do it
a
live.
client from Comet who you're
Yes.
helping procure things.
So this is
Sir.
where they keep the red lotus of which you speak. It looks like a paltry
It's-
offering.
It's out of season at the moment.
This is
But
you're
there
at the
is-
Ivory Horn, right?
Yeah.
Yes. It's the,
Excuses.
yeah, it's not a.
Did you go
This
inside?
is not.
Yeah, they're inside now.
We're at the door.
You're not inside.
I
We're
thought
go- we're getting
I
ready to
brushed
go now.
inside.
Okay, so you go inside.
Okay, we enter.
Loudly proclaiming, like the asshole that I am.
Gotcha.
I'm playing as.
There's no playing involved.
Thank you.
It's an interesting experience walking inside. It's a weird cross between an art gallery and a torture chamber. You see many items. It's very dark, and it has there's a reverential quality to the way things are displayed, from bondage gear to elaborate straps, harnesses, whips, cages. You also see wood, silver, and ivory devices in the shape of phalluses, and very interesting, possibly even baffling creations of leather and iron, all of which you can tell have a very specific use. And even though you might not be able to put yourself into the picture of it, and as you're looking around, and you see everything is. The craftsmanship on all of these things is fantastic. The chains themselves are really strong, but also with gilt decoration. You know, the leather is also of the finest craftsmanship. The bars on these small personal cage devices are extremely well put together. Everything is beautiful, and as you're sort of wandering around in everybody roll a d20 and tell me what you get. Everybody that's there, right, roll a d20 and tell me what you get.
I'm oblivious.
I'm feeling lucky today, so I'm gonna reroll.
Okay.
It's already 2 of your
Much
monkeys.
better.
Yeah. What was that? Perception?
Just tell me what you
Oh,
roll.
I got a 17.
Okay, and what did you guys roll?
2.
Okay, and you?
2.
Yeah,
plus
so
my
you're
modifier,
sort of
so-
stupefied. It's in a way like you're not used to seeing this sort of thing, and so even you, it's sort of like having your own giggle in the day. It's like, wow, I never thought that I could be taken aback, so that's in some ways that's part of the stupefaction. And in some ways with you, it's you're more mortified, not necessarily turned off. Mortified, not necessarily turned off, but it's sort of like it's interesting to you that so much energy has been, and it seems that you as someone from Kemet, where people tend to walk around naked all the time anyway, generally. So I mean, there's more of not in a sexual way, just because it's hot down there. You know?
Good hot man.
Right. So there's less of a, you're not necessarily turned on by the stuff that, now and then again you
It's
see a good
interesting.
ass, but then all bets are off. Hey, you apophis loving son of a bitch. but I'm just kidding. But so for you, in some ways it's sort of like
It's an interesting curiosity.
Right, it's an interesting curiosity, and I guess maybe your worldview is like, it would be interesting. What if this guy turned his talents to something really important, But so in some ways, it's sort of like you're like sort of impressed, but looking down your nose at the at the waste of time, if you will. And around this time, see anything you like? You hear a voice from this rather tall, thin but very powerfully built guy who has it looks like the kind of scar that somebody would ask you, can you give me a really nasty scar? So he has that kind of scar, but it could be from some sort of industrial thing. He's not missing an eye, but it's all spidered up around here. And
I see some things I don't understand.
First time.
Yes.
Woman, attend me with the list.
Yes.
You have a list? We don't see many Kimish in here. Before lunch.
I like you.
What do you want? I'm not here to have my time wasted. I spent... You see what you like, or I can make you something you want.
1,000 pardons, my lord. I have forgotten the list.
You may do that on your own time,
Of course, I would never sully your shop. 1,000 pardons.
How may I be of assistance to you, friend?
Well,
and these are both with you?
We're together.
1,000 pardons, sir. I have forgotten my lord's list.
You promised me alchemical delights as well as contraptions, and I await to see them.
This is the shop for the contraptions,
Mm.
which I apologize. I have never been to this shop. I've only heard of its reputation.
Are you from here?
I am. I have a stall in the bazaar.
Well, welcome to the House of Strakis.
This is my client. He wished to see your wares, and I knew where your shop was, but alas, I've never brought anyone in.
I'm so sorry.
Silence, cow.
Everything is designed and created by Strakis.
I can see the craftsmanship in your art.
It is merely a function of the imagination of others.
Of course.
So where does your imagination take you?
I do long for something that would remind me of home. Something that would be able to facilitate multiple heavenly bodies, if you may.
I think I know what you want. He walks away and comes back with a two-headed, serpent-shaped phallus.
Thinking he would bring back.
It was either that or like a dual-ended sex swing. That was the two things that were in my head.
I was thinking along the lines of...
Do you wish your girl to demonstrate?
I would not sully your shop with her essence at the moment.
I would not let you do it without selling it to you first.
Oh, of course, I would not. It is quite the impressive piece.
As is she.
Only she would learn to listen better, but that is neither here nor there. How much is it?
50 Derek.
50.
My suspicion is that you could perhaps get it for 40.
40? You believe 40?
I do not haggle. But perhaps the good Apophis worshipping master can tell the humble Strakis what it is that is of interest to him, and I can lend my shoulder to your own
Well,
distinct imagination.
Well, you have indeed whet my appetite with your first display.
Let that be all that is wet.
I'm gonna try. Basically, I'm gonna try. Can I roll a persuade here? I'm trying to get a.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get establish a rapport. To
Persuade me.
Yeah, I'm going like
Roll some now.
I thought you were doing very well with him myself.
Me too.
I know. I'll keep going. I just
Go ahead.
wanna-
Yeah, you can
Right.
do a little extra mojo.
Yeah. 17.
Nice.
Actually, that's.
I
18,
think I'm
19,
doing
20.
very well with you, love.
17, 18, 20. That's a 21. So. Now, in my home there is I've been gone for quite some time, but there is I am a holy man, you see, not of the cloth, of course, but I do my worship. The sky god, she thirsts for her brother thirsts for her brother Earth. I wish to pay homage to that. Do you have something that could perhaps, when I said earlier heavenly bodies, I meant...
Please forgive, perhaps I am lost in the metaphor of the sun and the sky coming together.
Very well, I will
Do not be afraid. You
I will
you
be
think
blunt.
you are my friend.
I will-
Please, you must not think you are the only holy man or priest that I have in my clientele.
Oh, do you have many of these, many worshippers of, amongst you?
You have not been out of Kemet. No, this
Not for...
is a city of Ishtar worshippers, and they do not even compare to the odd priest of Baal.
I see. The odd priest, you say. Do you have...
Surely, sir, the priests of Baal would never come here.
Never! No, never!
I am astounded at your insinuation.
I am delighted by your naivete.
It is all right. I will soon fix that in due time.
Yes, I can. That is between you and your beast gods.
I
my
think I
friend.
understand. You speak of earth gods, perhaps something in clay. Hardened clay or something. Does that sound earthen?
No, I will not mince words with you. You are a man who obviously values his time as much as I do. I need something that can suspend multiple bodies into the sky. Something that will allow for ease of movement.
A harness contraption, to speak.
There, that is it. Something, not your standard one that can take a very large load. More than...
You want something that will support.
I want an
multiple-
orgy in the sky!
I think you're now speaking the language he really understands.
Of course. It just takes time to build these bridges over rivers.
I'm sorry, orgy in the sky.
With diamonds.
Alex is
With diamonds.
Oh, that sounds like
Let's start that hashtag, orgy in the sky.
Hashtag.
Oh my god,
It's like
I'm
the
a little
New Rock
terrified
song.
of the fan art.
Oh god, yes.
Yes, the fan art will be truly humble.
Going
I'm just
to
really
the
glad-
orgy in the sky. That's where I want to go when I die.
I'm just so glad that multiple people sexting was the right answer.
Yeah.
Like, go me, yes.
We're
Now you do understand we've talked past the priest of Baal, right? Okay, I'm just saying.
Like,
I don't know where the conversation's
I can
going.
steer it back. I
I'm
can steer it back.
just saying that we did talk past the.
No. I
Like,
can
she
steer it
tried to stop him and was like,
Good.
no, we're
Priest
going
of Baal.
for it.
back. We're
Tell me more about this orgy in the sky. Tell me the priest of Baal.
It's like, fuck that. Let's talk about this orgy in the sky.
When I was a little boy,
How many
My
priests,
father.
How many priests of Baal are in the city? Is there only one?
No,
There's a bunch,
no,
right?
it's a large organization.
Yeah, I assume there's a bunch.
The ziggurat is the temple, and there has to be probably about 24 priests of Baal in the city, of various degrees and levels.
We're not
I mean, the
never
one
getting
thing
it.
that this does I know some of the priests of Baal.
But you know
But
of
I can't-
one
I can't
specifically
see them
that
coming here
patronized
either.
this particular shop. I should mention.
But yeah, like the archpriest is a priest of Baal.
No. You know of the one who patronized this shop.
Oh.
Malik, the one who fled, who also happened to steal the Book of Belok.
My lord. Good sir, forgive me for my naivety. My young brother has now been apprenticed to the priests of Baal. Do you mean to say that there are those among them who would take advantage of someone such as he, with appetites that are quite frankly shocking?
Girl, it is not my place to explain to you the workings of the world. There are men who will take advantage and those who will not. I can say that there are no better among the priests of Baal than anywhere else. I would offer, however, that your brother might want to steer clear of one particular one.
Which one, sir?
I'm not really about to tell you that now, am I?
Sir, it would mean the world to me.
Make a perception roll.
You need new
Yeah, I
die.
was gonna
It's
say.
the light in these die translation.
Actually, everybody could make a perception roll, but everybody that's present.
I was like,
I was about to say, I haven't made a roll yet.
8.
Where's my
9. Oh no.
11.
No, 8.
Okay, so
2 minus 1.
let me just say that he told you he wasn't going to tell you, but he didn't. Maybe he's protesting, but his demeanor doesn't suggest that he's not willing to discuss this matter further with you.
Not the right price.
Sir, it would just mean the world to me if you could assure me that my brother would be safe if there was a name you could give me.
Perhaps if you suggested the names, he could say yay or nay. Then he's not telling you. And I assume that she knows the names of the priests there because she's been working there for a while, right?
Yes, but he doesn't know that. I've been working with you and him.
I know some of the names of the priests. Everybody in the city knows the names of some of the priests.
She knows the name of the priest. Well, you all know the name
Yeah,
of the
but
priest.
we're
actually.
trying to be like
Yeah.
name
Right.
several and then land on that one.
Yeah, name an obvious goody two shoes.
He goes like this.
You can tell me in private, sir. I promise I would not repeat it. I just want to know that my brother's safe.
Well,
Will you be buying anything, sir?
I suppose I will. Well, how about this? Unhappy servants do make for poor work. I was intrigued by your devotional aid to Lord Apophis. Would you be willing to let it go for? I tell you what, I will pay you. What's the name of the Coronian currency? The gold.
The dark. Dark Siglos and dark is gold, Siglos is silver, and shekels are copper.
Would you be willing to establish further relations? I'm sure I will be patronizing you for the 50 Darik for your devotional aid and perhaps a kind word to my servant. It will cost you nothing, and you will gain 50 Dariks and a very grateful client. You have seen that I have appetites, and no doubt will partake of your services somewhere down the line.
I know nothing of whether your brother will be abused by the priesthood of Baal. It'll be 50 Darik for the Apophis. I'll wrap it for you.
I'm sorry if I'm offended, sir. My lord.
How important is this for you to know? For her to know this?
Beatings can only take a servant so far. You cannot. The carrot, the stick, the reed will not. The reed will only get you so far. You must also do the honeyed wine. It would mean
In
much.
this shop, I think the honeyed wine is poured in coin.
Of course. You know, of course, upon examining the craftsmanship of Lord Apox's aid is quite substantial. I feel that you have undercharged me. Another 10 gold, perhaps, just for the pleasure of it, so you may make such fine workmanship for me in the future.
I am happy to accept your gratuity, kind Apophis worshipping master.
Oh. Get out. And, I'm gonna try and. Can I roll for the persuade again, or?
What are you trying to persuade him on?
Just.
By the way, do you have the money?
I do have the money.
You do. You do. Okay.
I do have the money
All
to
right.
spend on sex toys.
But not food now.
Excuse me. I can hunt my own food. I need that money for sex toys.
You can't.
I need this money for body pillows and small erotic figurines.
Be careful when you pull your sword out in a combat. It may not be the sword.
Oh
It
no!
might be just
Oh,
as
no.
scary, though.
Oh no! My erotic
hammer.
devotional phallus.
Right.
Oh no, where did I leave my sword
Is
then?
mightier than the pen.
Oh God!
Or the sword.
Excuse me. You can still stab someone pretty good with a rhino horn.
I mean, he's
Yeah,
not
but this
wrong.
is just like a giant wiggly snake, though.
Yeah, but have you
I
ever
feel
beaten
like
someone
it's
to
not
death?
that wiggly.
No, they're
What were you
probably
going to ask?
Basically,
I'm just going to see if I could roll
How heavy
insight
is
to try to discern if it might be safe to say this priest's name. To drop it casually in conversation, or if it would be dangerous.
And that's what the role you were.
I'm asking, yeah, would that be insight? What would you want me to roll to try to kind of glean that?
It could be insight.
Just
Could be
risk it.
insight.
Just
Risk
risk
it. Get stabbed.
it.
Well, now we're
Let's
down.
see if he kills you.
Do an insight.
He's not going to kill you.
Either insight or
Oh, he's
perception.
going
or
to inform
wisdom
people
based.
who kill us.
Well, I actually have insight.
Try to.
Okay, then do
Insight.
insight.
That would help us too.
That's why I have more than one.
14.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't get the sense that this guy is particularly sentimental,
Okay.
you know? So if he puts any value on anything, it's probably not sentiment, you know?
Okay, I'm gonna risk it.
Thank you, my lord, for everything that you have done. I do not think that my lord here is willing to impart such delicate information. I think that my brother will be all right. He is being apprenticed to Lord Malik after all, and he is exemplary.
Malik, you said? Malik?
Yes, in the temple.
If it's the same one that I know, wait a minute. There was a matter of payment?
Of course. I give him my 60, 60, right? Yeah,
60 dark.
Sorry, 60 Daric for my giant snake dildo.
Two-headed.
It's
It's giant double-ended
Is it
snake
two-headed or
giant.
two-tailed?
It's
Double
well,
headed.
no, it's two-headed. It's got two heads.
Two-headed.
It's a
You don't
snake
know how
with
it
two
works
heads.
because it's in a roper and it's eating its
Right.
own tail.
Right.
I don't know
No,
how
it's
to work
kind of
that.
It's
cute.
the opposite
like
of the
that shape.
Ouroboros. It
Head
never
on.
gets
I
anywhere
love how
near
we're
its
now
own tail.
explaining what a snake dildo looks like.
There are
Even though
many-
you guys
there are
know
many
it's
things in
like-
life
Do not
Right.
Google it.
There are many-
Did you?
No.
This is real Dungeons and Dragons right here, guys.
There are many things in life I regret.
We're
just
gonna put a new
not-
rating on our stream.
You're
right
carrying
now.
it.
Yeah, right.
Of course, carries like a giant negotiator.
Yes. Carrying the dice.
Look, my sweet, I don't know what your brother's particular interest is, but that little pimply shit, he has nothing to worry about if he weighs more than 10 pounds and is dripping wet. That little pimply shit Malik is no danger to anyone.
I'm so very delighted to hear that. But
How you speak so of one of the priests?
Spend a few days around here and you'll have a completely different worldview on everyone and anyone you think should be placed on a pedestal.
of course.
Of course, if you're here for another 2 or 3 days, I'm going to put you on a pedestal with a price tag.
Perhaps for the right price.
Thank you, my lord. Thank you, my lord.
Do you want that wrap?
And so, he does wrap it. He totally wraps it. No, it's wrapped very discreetly. And very
I was
nice,
gonna say he's already wrapped it. I was like, nah, carry it.
Right.
Just
Just
carry
carry
When
it.
you're
This
Swing it over the side.
Strap it to my
This
back.
is your cross
Right.
to bear, woman.
My
I am.
shoulders and hang like that.
Britney
Let me-
Spears from like
let me-
the VMAs.
Let me introduce you to Popfus Uncaged.
The deluxe.
You have the right. So,
This did not go where I thought it was going to go.
No, it didn't. It didn't go where anyone thought it was going to go.
Excuse me. It went exactly where I wanted it to go. Exactly where I steered it.
where the rules told you they were going to be.
so you take it and you leave with some additional knowledge in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile,
Carrying that.
Meanwhile,
Meanwhile-
Crosstown.
Cross town in the tavern where normal people do normal
Excuse
things.
me.
How boring!
We're having a fun time here with our snake
Right.
dildo.
Ponchos end up like getting into a
We're
fight or
learning things
something.
here.
I'm going to put down in my inventory one double-headed snake dildo.
I would offer too
Yeah.
that the
Phallus.
Medina
Thank you.
is probably. He doesn't strike you as a guy that keeps all hours either. It's more of a, he's like a machine shop basically. You can't go at midnight. He's literally a machine shop.
Yeah.
I was going to ask earlier when you said he had an industrial looking scar. I was like, what type of accident did he get into?
Right.
Manufacturing.
It involved a double-headed devil.
Right, exactly.
It was pretty horrific.
All I'm thinking is Vanishar never fails to live up to its reputation.
Hey man, when he put blood, sweat, and tears into his work, he really did it.
Let's hope that's all he put
That's
into
what
it.
it is.
That's all.
Let's hope those are the only fluids. Right?
Yeah, right.
Now, the Medina is the oldest district in Vadashar. It comes from the days when it was a collection of mud brick buildings clustered around a central well. The old city is still very important because of the underground tunnels that lead water to the rest of the city-state. It is noted for its sages, scholars, and students, and one of the things that strikes you most about the Medina is the old gate, which and actually, who's heading that
It's
way?
us three. It's the
You-
other
you
three.
Yeah, the other
You would be aware from having studied the city-state before your arrival that the old gate, the origins, it is called the Old Gate because it is the oldest gate in the city, and it's very striking. It's over 30 feet tall, and it's decorated in lapis lazuli and gilt. So the old gate is actually almost entirely, the wall is almost entirely blue. The gilt is faded, the gold decoration, gold bricks. You can see vague shapes of mythological beasts like Lamassu and things of that nature from that Near East motif. And the proportions are more appropriate to giants than normal men as you make your way past it towards the Gilded Pump, which is an old tavern in an old part of the city. And you see, as you make your way towards the place, there are a number of small sidewalk keffiyeh shops where old men gather playing games of dice and board games while they drink their coffee, their cafe. And you see a building that has on the outside painted, it's a one-story building that has two faded palm trees painted on the outside, and it looks like at one time they may have had gilt decoration. Now it appears it's more some like a paint job or the like. And there are some old people sitting outside. And again, who is it? It's you
Volkmara,
3.
yeah.
Okay, sweet.
But
Okay.
you're going by Alex, I'm going by Mari, and you're going by... None of us are using actual names.
Oh,
You're
well,
by
then in that case...
Anu.
Yeah,
Anu.
sure, let's go with that.
That's fine.
Don't really care if people know my real name or not.
I think we're just likely to get stabbed if people know our real names.
Entirely possible.
Probable even.
Highly probable. Alright, so... What is...
Everybody make a perception roll.
Oh, great.
Got
Okay,
it.
I'll use my purple one.
Ooh. That is a 21.
17.
2?
Damn
it!
Numbers.
That's what you get for tripping him before.
That 20 coming back.
So, and actually you trip.
Yeah!
You're not paying attention,
I
and
know.
so you
So
trip.
confused.
So you get a
I don't even know what a
laugh to
palm
yourself.
tree is. Like, I'm just confused.
And but you notice on a palm that there appears to be the best way to really describe him is just a shady-looking fella checking the three of you out as you approach. I mean, you at first you think he might be just eyeballing Volkmaria, but then you get the sense that he's sort of looking at all three of you and has a would probably have a hard time being discreet, you know. So I mean, not being discreet, but like hiding the fact that he's like looking at you. You know, he's doing everything except, you know, like having a newspaper with the eyes. So he's trying to look away, but clearly he sees you. And again, you know, you had a very good. You were able to eyeball him. He was clearly distracted by Volkmaria not being nimble on her pins as she stumbled a little bit.
So angry.
Basically eating it, got it.
And then.
Oh no, I'm
And you'll see he also
down.
gets a look at Alexides, who's and how are you dressed exactly, Alex?
Are you still wearing your disguise?
Yes.
We're both very plain.
Which is to say.
Banishar and peasant.
Okay, so you look like a tradesman or whatever, you know, like you're traveling. So you're still in your kind of like
Like, what
traveling
would he
gear,
look
and
like?
she's touched you up to look a little. Okay.
It looks a little bit more grungy than I normally would.
Just she has to.
Yeah, like what do Vadashardian peasants look like?
Well, I mean, the word peasant, it might not be appropriate. So because a peasant would imply somebody who works the land. But
common folk?
yeah, but common folks. I mean, I mean, exactly. I mean, I would say, you know, pants, you know, right, knit.
Oh, you said flowy
knit,
pants.
you know, a knit shirt. It's a more of a temperate climate. It's not desert per se, but it's temperate. So, a cap would be appropriate.
Oh yeah, no, my character has flaming red hair. We pulled it up and it's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure. So, and this guy is also likewise dressed, but in a much more poorly put together fashion than you are. His is not makeup, and he looks like he probably hasn't had a meal in a while. Make another perception roll, having righted your feet and gotten. As only an embarrassment can make.
That's 20! Yeah! So good!
So
immediately hot.
you're brought back into your reality as only an embarrassment like tripping can make you self-aware.
I'm so happy right now.
And you become aware that you're being watched by somebody from just in front of this establishment, the Guild of.
Oh, you finally figured it out.
Thanks for joining us.
Nicely done. So and you see this guy. He looks really undernourished. Probably hasn't been in the sun more than he, you know. Probably is a little bit vitamin D and other vitamin deficient, you know, and looks like. I mean, you've got a good sense of, and he's very fidgety also, you know. You ever see a guy? You ever walk through a poor part of town and you see a guy with his hand in his pocket, and he's got his hand in his pocket because you know that's where his stuff is.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the worst thing to do. Well, this is draws attention to it. So that's what this guy's like. That he's really
Okay.
fidgety, and he's got his hand on his stash, probably
Okay.
in his big billowy pockets, and he's looking at you. And
you said he's like right outside the door. Or
right
is he-
outside the
okay.
door.
Is he
Yeah,
the bouncer?
and
Yeah,
he,
that's what I was gonna ask.
right. I mean, if he's the bouncer, then
Yeah,
this
this place
place was
is
a
the
rob.
worst.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
They used to play a lot of bar fights in here.
Yeah.
And he sees you seeing him. He's looking at you. You looking at me. And he gets very self-conscious, and it's almost like if he could start pretending a conversation to somebody who's not standing, he would. But he looks away.
Oh, he does it like try and checks the phone thing.
Yeah, he checks his phone. So he looks away, having been busted, and as you are approaching, you're probably several yards.
I
away.
immediately
What
go
are
up
you
to
on?
confront him.
You walk up to him.
I go up to confront
Actually,
him.
I was gonna ask, can I make an insight check to see like is he like casing us, or is he just he's just a fidgety guy? That
You
just,
got the sense that he was casing you.
Okay.
I mean, not to say
Yeah, pretty
casing you,
decent
but he
at
was
that,
definitely checking you out.
Okay.
He was definitely reconnoitering you.
Yeah, then I go
Whether it
confront.
was because of interest, but he was interested in you three. You know,
Yeah.
when he saw, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh,
Whoops.
oh, watch out.
No worries. No
I'm
worries.
back.
You're
I'm
good,
back.
you're good. You're
Sorry.
fine. You're fine. It
What?
was that
I
one leg.
forgot
over
it
there.
was behind
No, you're
me.
fine. You're fine.
Yeah, no,
we'll make it better.
I just
We'll make it
I walk up to confront him. Who are you?
Roll for name.
Random name generator.
I'm Gru. What's it to you?
Seeing as you were the one staring at us, it means a lot to me.
You need Lotus?
No, I don't need Lotus.
Okay, we should just go inside. I'll explain to you what he was doing later. Come on.
Fine. Just walks on.
Okay, you walk past him inside.
Yeah.
Inside. And
She gets none of it. It's just over her head.
you haven't seen the last of Gru. So you go inside, and inside it's a quiet, calm place. It's mostly filled with smaller tables. You see that many of the tables are occupied. Many of the small tables are occupied by older native men, and inside there are long tables. Wooden banquetish tables, very old, and there's probably about a dozen people sitting in there. It's roughly about 2:00 in the afternoon. Two to 3 in the afternoon. There's about a dozen or so people sitting in the main tables drinking. On the main wall there is a faded mural of what looks like it might have been a regal person at one time, but it is long faded.
Can I make an insight check?
Make a roll.
Okay, let's see how this goes. I'm at 2 for 2. 2 for 4.
One.
Wow.
Told you it's gonna come back.
I was about to say,
Come
can
back.
I
Go
jump
ahead.
in on this? Thank you.
And Alexi's make one.
Skills have been
You
balanced.
don't.
How did you get?
9.
I get.
Natural 5 plus 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we rolling insight? I get an 18.
Okay.
There you go.
That is.
Okay, great.
That is
Five
a
plus
mural. That is a mural of Baal,
Oh, great,
the
cool.
god Baal.
Awesome. Not that I know that.
It's Baal. But you can tell that it's probably a king. It's probably one of Vanish's.
Great.
It looks like the local.
Really?
I scan the bar or the tavern or cantina or whatever you want to call it as we enter
Yeah.
to see what the
Yeah.
to assess what the scene looks like.
Everybody make a roll.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna go with
Okay, it's better.
this
Ooh,
one. See
natural
what
one.
Come on. 4.
That's
So
a
is it a
13.
Yeah, I just
I mean,
slowed
we're not adding anything, right? Just straight roll? Yeah,
Right.
13.
Just
Okay.
straight roll.
Yeah, 4.
Okay. And you rolled a
Natural 1.
natural 1. Nice. Well, really, natural
I was
subtract anything to get to that.
I was entranced by the mural on the wall.
Yes, absolutely. But at least you identified who it was.
I
know it's not Ball.
I was like, who is that?
Truly, this is a ruler who commands respect right here.
Yes. And as you turn, you see that you're literally standing face to face with Gru from outside. And he says to you, if you're not looking for Lotus, then what is it that you do want? And that's where we'll stop until next week.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Go to the end screen.